It was precisely 11:58 p.m. on a cold, early December night when the operation began. Far from the sound of artillery, near the historic city of Volgograd, the strategic target was Tank Farm 402, an immense, high-security facility spread across dozens of acres near the bank of the powerful Volga River. This was no ordinary storage depot. It housed colossal steel silos containing over $750 million worth of refined petroleum products, primarily diesel and high-octane aviation fuel, essential for sustaining all Russian tank brigades and attack helicopter squadrons across the entire southern military district. The very isolation of Tank Farm 402 was its main defense, located hundreds of miles inland, deep within what Russia considered its inviolable heartland. Moscow believed the facility was utterly immune to attack. Security protocols relied heavily on distant aerial surveillance and ground patrols, utterly neglecting the unique, challenging environment of the river itself, assuming that the strong, fast, and freezing currents of the Volga provided a natural, insurmountable barrier. This arrogant complacency, this failure to imagine the impossible, was the exact vulnerability the Ukrainian GUR's Delta team, a small, highly specialized unit of combat divers, was preparing to exploit with calculated precision. Their mission was not just to destroy a facility, but to demonstrate that no asset, no matter how remote, how valuable, or how protected, was truly safe from Ukraine's reach. The silence of the remote riverbank was about to be broken by a firestorm designed to cripple Russia's logistics for months. The infiltration itself was a technical masterpiece, designed specifically to defeat acoustic and thermal detection systems. The Delta team, comprising 5 elite combat divers, did not use high-speed boats or aircraft. Instead, they were deployed miles upstream from a repurposed, unassuming civilian transport vessel, then began their approach using specialized, silent wet sub-propulsion devices designed to hug the riverbed and minimize their acoustic signature. The real challenge lay in circumventing the perimeter hydroacoustic defense system, an expensive subsurface mesh of sensors intended to pick up engine noise or the telltale cavitation bubbles produced by conventional propellers. The GUR countered this with highly advanced, noise-dampening neoprene wetsuits and, more ingeniously, by having their team leader activate a small, synchronized, ultra-low-frequency pulse emitter on his wrist device. This pulse was mathematically tuned to exactly match the river's existing ambient noise patterns, effectively creating a cloak that masked their presence, making the highly trained divers acoustically indistinguishable from the flow of the freezing water itself. Their slow, deliberate, and frigid journey was a testament to patience and advanced engineering, navigating the strong downstream drag and sub-zero temperatures with meticulous focus, knowing that any mistake, a collision, a sudden noise, would lead to immediate, fatal exposure on the enemy's doorstep. They were not merely swimming, they were performing a calculated, deep-water stealth maneuver directly toward the nerve center of Russia's fuel supply. As the team secured their position beneath the thin veil of riverbank fog, their focus shifted from evasion to precise targeting. Their objective was deliberately not the heavily armored, above-ground storage tanks, which could withstand significant kinetic force, but the main pumping manifold and the adjacent high-pressure gas distribution pipeline. This manifold was the facility as Achilles' heel, a vital intersection of steel and valves that functioned as the jugular vein connecting the tank farm to the wider pipeline network, yet it rested, exposed and vulnerable, just 20 feet from the riverbank concrete. Russian security measures here were laughably minimal. A single stationary sentry post positioned hundreds of meters away and one rotating FLIR, forward-looking infrared camera, mounted high on a distant water tower, both utterly failing to account for an attack originating from the water itself. The team, using specialized non-sparking ceramic tools and quiet breathing apparatus, worked swiftly. They began preparing the site, meticulously clearing debris and attaching the primary payloads. This phase demanded absolute silence and precision, as the slightest unexpected movement could be picked up by the thermal camera during its routine sweep, confirming the presence of intruders in a supposedly secure area. Their understanding of the enemy's complacent perimeter defense was the final, critical piece of intelligence that turned this impossible mission into a devastating reality. The payload chosen for this operation was the key to maximizing destruction while minimizing initial acoustic signature. Instead of relying on conventional, high-explosive C4, which would produce a massive immediate bang that would alert all regional forces, the team deployed for custom-designed thermite-based shaped charges. The final stage required exquisite synchronization, creating a perfect, tiny window of opportunity. The diversion was subtle, yet effective. Approximately 1 mile downstream, a tiny, disposable Wasp microdrone, launched moments earlier from the safety of the riverbank reeds, skimmed the water surface. Its only purpose was to emit a sudden, loud, high-frequency radio burst. This audible button and threatening sound was calculated to trigger the lone FLIR camera operator in the distant water tower to swivel his camera head, albeit briefly, to investigate the sound's origin. In that crucial one-time, 15-second window, the team's U specialist, positioned at a remote observation point, transmitted a silent, targeted signal that triggered the charge placed on the fire suppression buoy. The buoy was destroyed with a small, localized blast, but the resulting loss of signal instantaneously and completely decapitated the fire suppression system, guaranteeing the impending blaze would receive no automated response. Immediately after the buoy's destruction, the specialist triggered the main thermite charges on the manifold. The timing was flawless, ensuring that the explosion of the fuel and the failure of the safety system were concurrent, amplifying the final destructive outcome exponentially. A perfect example of low-cost, high-impact cyber-physical fusion. The consequence was not the simple sound of an explosion, but a sudden, terrifying rush of hypersure rupture in ignition. The thermite charges successfully drilled through the steel, and the highly pressurized diesel fuel erupted, catching fire instantly upon contact with air. The heat and pressure rapidly compromised the adjacent, heavier-gauge gas distribution pipeline, leading to a secondary, massive rupture that unleashed an immense torrent of natural gas into the burgeoning inferno. The twin events combined to create a chaotic, self-sustaining firestorm that defied any localized control. A colossal plume of fire raging, blinding red beacon where black gold had once sat silently erupted from the manifold, climbing hundreds of feet into the cold night sky. The intense, unexpected heat quickly warped the support structure of the closest tanks, guaranteeing eventual catastrophic failure and the spreading of the fire. The spectacular eruption was visible for well over 50 miles, instantly notifying every regional Russian command center, but due to the neutralized fire suppression system, all they could do was watch the $750 million asset turn into a spectacular escalating disaster that could not be fought with conventional means. The military consequences of the attack were felt immediately across multiple fronts. Tank Farm 402, now a raging wreck, was the primary resupply hub for all armored divisions in the crucial Southern Command. The site was rendered completely inoperable for months, not weeks. This loss of fuel forced an instantaneous standstill in the planned rotation and repositioning of key tank brigades. Furthermore, the disruption immediately grounded numerous attack helicopter squadrons that relied on the facility's steady supply of high-octane aviation fuel, effectively stripping the southern front of its close air support capability. The damage introduced chaos into Russia's entire fuel distribution strategy. Commanders were forced to divert precious resources and fuel convoys from other regions, forcing them onto highly vulnerable secondary rail lines and roads that were already within drone range. The attack didn't just burn fuel, it burned the timetable and the operational mobility of thousands of Russian troops, creating a logistics crisis that no amount of frontline manpower could solve. The total cost to replace the destroyed fuel, repair the manifold, and compensate for the cascading delays easily surpassed the original $750 million valuation, marking one of the single most financially devastating sabotage actions of the entire war. Beyond the material loss, the operation delivered a crushing psychological blow to the Russian high command. The very assumption that certain targets deeply isolated and seemingly protected by geography were untouchable had been completely shattered. Tank Farm 402 was supposed to represent the logistical security of the rear. Its fiery ruin confirmed that Ukraine possesses the capability to reach and neutralize any asset no matter how remote or how heavily guarded its outer perimeter might be. This was a direct, undeniable proof of concept for deep strike sabotage originating from below the radar horizon, a tactic that completely invalidated vast portions of Russia's conventional air and ground defense spending. The attack instilled widespread paranoia among Russian logistics officers and commanders, forcing them to divert disproportionate amounts of manpower and air defense assets like Pantsir systems away from the front lines and back towards protecting internal infrastructure, essentially draining combat power to guard against a silent, unseen enemy. This shift in resources, spurred by fear, introduced new critical vulnerabilities closer to the battlefield, compounding the strategic success of the Volga River operation. The success of the riverbed sabotage cemented a new, undeniable doctrine in modern asymmetrical warfare: the primacy of subsurface and unconventional vector infiltration. Traditional military strategy dictates defense against ground and air threats, but the Delta team proved that leveraging an enemy's geographical blind spots, specifically large bodies of water, is often the path of least resistance to the highest value targets. This operation showcased the power of combining low-cost, tailored technical solutions, thermite charges, custom propulsion devices, EW manipulation with elite human skill to overcome multi-million-dollar defensive systems, hydroacoustic and This sophisticated blend means the war for logistics is no longer confined to the front lines or even the airspace above Russia. It is now being fought on the riverbeds and beneath the waves. The attack also highlighted the crucial role of intelligence fusion, where precise, pre-obtained data on pipeline diagrams and defense blind spots was more valuable than a dozen long-range cruise missiles. The destruction wasn't just about burning fuel. It was about burning the enemy's confidence in their vast, but poorly protected, rear echelon, signaling a terrifying shift in Ukraine's operational capabilities. The immense plume of smoke rising from the Volga River proved one undeniable truth: the rules of engagement have changed permanently. The catastrophic loss at Tank Farm 402 ensures that Russia must now contend with an existential threat to its warfighting economy. That it is currently ill-equipped to counter the success of the Delta Team demonstrates that for Ukraine, victory will increasingly be achieved not through massive frontal assaults, but through targeted surgical decapitation of the enemy's logistical and command spine, as Russia is forced to divert critical resources to defend every rail line, every oil depot, and every bridge hundreds of miles from the front. Its combat power on the front lines will inevitably wither. The $750 million inferno serves as a permanent beacon, a fiery reminder that the war is no longer contained. The question is no longer if Ukraine will strike deep again, but when and where will they target the northern rail bridge next, or perhaps the main power grid supplying the entire military district. This strategic victory guarantees that the path to a sustainable Russian offensive will be paved with logistical chaos and financial ruin.